You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug.
Really had much to say until he started running for president.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person.
Elon Musk has officially filed an $80 million defamation and intentional misinformation lawsuit against Whoopi Goldberg and the host of The View. This legal action came after Goldberg's remarks suggesting that Musk and J.D. Vance were conspiring to manipulate government control if former President Donald Trump were removed from office. The lawsuit has sparked intense debates about free speech, accountability, and media ethics.
Really had much to say until he started running for president. Then I could say everything I needed to say. My face said everything.
Was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
Joe Rogan also weighed in on this controversy through his podcast, which further fueled public reaction. Rogan criticized mainstream media, particularly The View, for initially portraying Trump positively, but later turning against him.
Okay, I need to clean something up because my cat lays in wait for me on my stairs all the time. That's what I was thinking of that. I wasn't trying to indicate that they were actually standing there with their legs out, hoping he would try.
Rogan argued that Musk's lawsuit could set an important precedent in challenging misinformation. He claimed this case could serve as a warning to media figures who misuse their platforms to push political agendas. Goldberg, however, defended her remarks by saying they were about her cat and not Musk, calling it a lighthearted joke.
I've been saying it for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been saying that I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember the last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when they get rid of Trump.
So you think it's Musk Vance?
Possible.
Musk's lawsuit is going viral on social media, with hashtags like hashtag support Elon and hashtag cancel the View trending. Supporters see this as a necessary stand against misinformation, while critics worry it could raise new questions about free speech. Joe Rogan's involvement continues to highlight the growing attention on the case.
The audience was cheering, and then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked, and the way they've done it so coordinated and systematically. When you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
very.
She was encouraging.
This lawsuit has stirred up significant reactions on both sides, with some supporters of Musk applauding his move to hold media figures accountable, while critics argue it may set a dangerous precedent for stifling free speech. As the case progresses, the role of media in shaping narratives and the limits of free expression in the public sphere will likely remain central to the debate.
But when you have deliberate, concerted, repeated pushing of hoaxes, you're like, wait a second, like, come on, man, this is too far.
And you're supposed to be the good guys.
You're supposed to, and you claim to be the good guys? I'm like, exactly.
You're supposed to be the progressives.
Yes, the Dems are like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the honest people. No, hang on. You can't claim to be the good guys. You can't claim to be the honest people if you're deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly.
Yeah. Well,
we're like, even Snopes, which is a liberal thing, says it's bogus.
Yeah.
Like the Fine People hoax.
Obama just said that on stage.
Elon Musk's $80 million lawsuit against Whoopi Goldberg and the host of The View has ignited an intense debate on media accountability, free speech, and the role of public figures in challenging misinformation. Musk's legal action stems from remarks made by Goldberg, in which she insinuated that Musk and J.D. Vance were conspiring to manipulate government control should former President Donald Trump be removed from office. This accusation sparked a wave of controversy, with Musk's legal team claiming that the statements were defamatory and intended to damage his reputation. The situation has become a lightning rod for discussions on media ethics, especially in an era where sensationalism often takes precedence over factual reporting. One of the key voices amplifying the conversation around Musk's lawsuit is Joe Rogan, whose podcast has garnered a large following for its candid discussions on political and media issues. Rogan's criticism of The View has added a layer of credibility to Musk's claims, as many of his listeners view him as a powerful voice for exposing media hypocrisy. Rogan is known for calling out what he perceives as bias in mainstream media, and his comments on The View have only strengthened Musk's case, drawing attention to the inconsistency in how the media treats public figures, depending on their political affiliations. Rogan pointed out that The View hosts have frequently shifted their stance on key political figures, notably Donald Trump. Rogan argued that the show initially embraced Trump with warm reception, only to vilify him later when political tides shifted. This change in tone mirrors Musk's concerns about how media narratives can be manipulated to serve particular political agendas, often at the expense of truth and fairness. The inconsistency in how public figures are treated, Rogan suggested, reflects a broader issue with media bias and selective outrage, a point that Musk has underscored in his legal complaint. While Rogan was critical of The View, he also addressed the question of whether some of the hosts were intentionally misleading their audiences or simply ideologically driven. Rogan acknowledged that not all of the hosts are dumb, as some critics might suggest, but he did not hold back in his assessment of Whoopi Goldberg's intelligence. He called Goldberg's remarks silly and poorly thought out, likening them to an idea for a comedy sketch that was half-baked and lacking substance. This harsh assessment from Rogan resonated with Musk supporters, many of whom argue that Goldberg's comments were not only misleading but dangerous, as they could contribute to public misinformation. Goldberg attempted to defend herself by claiming that her comments were not directed at Musk, but were instead a joke about her cat. However, this explanation has been met with skepticism, particularly given the context in which the remarks were made. Critics have viewed Goldberg's response as a deflection, an attempt to avoid accountability for what Musk's legal team argues were damaging and false claims. Musk supporters believe that Goldberg's sudden shift in explanation only serves to confirm their suspicions that she was trying to downplay the impact of her statements. Rogan, on the other hand, has continued to critique mainstream media for normalizing rhetoric that could incite violence or harm. He emphasized the power of talk shows like The View and how their content can shape public opinion. One of the most contentious aspects of Musk's lawsuit revolves around Goldberg's alleged joke about someone tripping Trump. Musk's legal team argues that such remarks could be interpreted as inciting harm, especially in a politically charged climate where tensions are high. Goldberg later downplayed the comment, stating that it was meant to refer to her cat rather than the former president. But Rogan was quick to point out the dangers of using humor as a shield for potentially harmful rhetoric. Rogan's criticism of The View highlights the broader issue of media accountability, which has become a central theme in Musk's lawsuit. Musk, an outspoken advocate for transparency and fairness in media, has accused The View of promoting politically motivated narratives that often prioritize sensationalism over factual reporting. Rogan, in his podcast, echoed Musk's concerns about how media figures like Goldberg shift their narratives to align with political trends rather than seeking a balanced and fair approach to reporting. This inconsistency in how public figures are portrayed, Rogan argued, damages public trust and creates an environment where media outlets prioritize controversy over truth. The legal battle between Musk and The View has drawn attention to the larger issue of media bias, with critics accusing mainstream networks of using political agendas to shape their narratives. Rogan's commentary underscores this sentiment, suggesting that legacy media outlets like ABC often prioritize ratings and sensationalism over the integrity of their reporting. Musk's lawsuit, supported by Rogan's critique, reflects a growing demand for reform in media practices, particularly in terms of holding media figures accountable for the narratives they promote. Musk supporters argue that his legal action is not only about defending his reputation, but also about advocating for a more transparent and responsible media. They believe that Musk's lawsuit serves as a warning to other media figures who may be inclined to spread misinformation or use their platforms for political purposes. The case has sparked widespread debate on the role of media in shaping public opinion and the responsibility that media outlets have in presenting accurate and fair information. However, there are also critics of Musk's lawsuit who argue that his wealth and influence could be used to stifle dissent and silence opposing voices. Some view the lawsuit as a form of intimidation that could set a dangerous precedent for free speech. Rogan, while critical of mainstream media, also acknowledged the potential risks of using legal action to challenge media figures, emphasizing the need for balance in ensuring that freedom of expression is not unduly restricted. He pointed out that while The View may have acted inappropriately, it is essential to maintain the right for public figures to express their opinions, even if those opinions are controversial. The case has further underscored the power of alternative media platforms in holding mainstream networks accountable. As social media continues to play a larger role in shaping public discourse, platforms like Rogan's podcast have become influential in challenging the narratives promoted by traditional media outlets. Rogan's involvement in the Musk lawsuit has highlighted the growing divide between mainstream media and alternative platforms, with many people increasingly turning to independent voices for their news and analysis. Musk's lawsuit is not just a legal battle. It is a symbolic stand against the growing influence of media in shaping public opinion. Whether or not the lawsuit succeeds, it has already had a significant impact on public discussions about media accountability and free speech. The case has also prompted a broader cultural reckoning about the role of media in a democratic society and the ethical responsibility that comes with the power to shape public discourse. In conclusion, Musk's $80 million lawsuit against Whoopi Goldberg and The View has sparked an important conversation about the role of media in shaping political narratives and the responsibility that media outlets have in presenting accurate and unbiased information. Rogan's commentary has amplified Musk's concerns, emphasizing the need for transparency and fairness in media coverage. While some view Musk's legal action as a necessary step in holding media figures accountable, others worry about the potential implications for free speech. Regardless of the outcome, the case highlights the growing demand for reform in media practices and the role of alternative platforms in challenging the status quo.